Welcome everyone to the November CentOS board meeting. I just noticed a typo in the agenda, so fixing that. We have all board members. Did Jack show up?
Jack is here.
Oh, great. Okay. And the only board member who is absent is David, who is on PTO. So the main topic for the meeting, because I would like to get this moving forward, is our AI policy. I've included a link to the draft I had worked based on all the notes we had done. I'm also including the latest version of Fedora's AI policy, which is not finished yet. And I would like to note for the conversation that the AI policy was covered a few weeks ago in a Freckle meeting. However, I was unable to attend. Troy and Mike, I understand you were able to attend. If you have any input that you would like to give the group based on what you heard.
Well, sorry, but I thought Fedora's actually passed. So I was going to comment on that.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was done, and it's actually added to the Fedora docs. I'm about to pull
Oh,
up the link.
excellent, because I saw Justin yesterday, and I could have sworn he told me it wasn't. So
You actually have a
on there,
link to it
docs,
in the
website.
docs, in the agenda.
Okay. Somebody must have added that.
That was me like 10 minutes ago.
Oh,
See, I did not know.
okay.
All right, so I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to open 2 more tabs and put ours in one tab and theirs in another tab.
Yep.
Okay, so looking at Fedora's, how do people feel about what they have in theirs, their wording versus are very much still a draft? Oh, somebody raised a hand. I can't see.
It's Pat.
Okay, Pat, then Davida, and then Neil.
Okay, I'm going to go for a bit. So if people have got short things they might want to leapfrog me.
Okay, Davida just shook his head. Neil, is yours short or long?
It's short.
All
Okay,
right.
Neil, then Pat, then Davida.
Okay, I'm just going to say we should just probably go ahead and adopt this. The only thing is we probably want to find out how much Red Hat is okay with this policy vis-a-vis Red Hat Enterprise CentOS stream contributions. It'd be nice if they would at least vaguely adhere to this too for their end of the stuff, so at least it looks coherent. Don't know if they will or not, but that's basically the gist of it.
Davida? Oh, no, Pat, then Davida.
Okay, so I have spent a bunch of time thinking about this over the last couple of weeks to try and make sure that I had my head screwed on straight. And to jump to the first part of Amy's question, I like the Fedora version. There are some caveats for the CentOS side. Point number 5, large-scale initiatives are a different sort of thing. CentOS Stream doesn't do large-scale initiatives. RHEL does. So I'm not really sure that that applies to us. And then for number 4, that you can use AI tools to review a patch, but not to submit a patch, or not to approve a patch. That's again done by RHEL engineering. So it doesn't really feel like it's for us. And then I sort of sat back and I said to myself, what is a policy for? And it's either to permit something, to promote something, or to prevent something. And we effectively have open permission for a lot of these things, like you submit a patch. Like, you can do that right now. We don't really need an AI policy that says that you can submit a patch, because if we set a policy that says we accept no AI patches, all that does is incentivizes people not to say that their patches were developed with an LLM. So prevention doesn't feel like a workable starter. So we're left with promote. That one seems like that one's going to be important. These are the big tools. I'm getting pressure from various edges and hearing it from various folks that all sorts of executives and managers are wanting to see what you did with AI this week. And so this could be of benefit to our contributors, where if we give them guidance on how to specify this patch was done with the help of an LLM, they can then turn around and do some sort of automated tooling to say, look, I submitted these 12 patches this week, 10 of them were assisted by an LLM. Please give me a raise. And so that feels interesting to me. And so patches are already permitted, and we can't realistically prevent them. So all I'm really left with is promotion. And then I'm going to subdivide this again into 3 different buckets. When a patch comes in for stream, there is the person who submitted it. There is the person who reviews it, and then there is the person who reads the audit trail at some point in the future. And so if we tell people that they need to tag it with assisted by for the person who submitted it, that gives them a way of reviewing and seeing what patches they did that were LLM based, and to promote to their managers what they did that was LLM based. So that seems good to me. For the auditor, people like data. I got to be honest, I'm not actually expecting anyone to comb through the audit trail for a CentOS Stream package and find out all of the things that were assisted by an LLM. But that feels like a valid use case that probably should be supported. And so that only leaves me then with the actual maintainer who's reviewing the patch. And so I have to figure out what the purpose is of the assisted by tag for the maintainer. As admittedly, I haven't submitted anything to Stream in the last, honestly, probably about a year or so. But typically when I submit things to Stream, the patch that I submit is, here is a Git format patch of the actual honest to God thing that landed in the upstream project. And then here's a second patch of me personally resolving any merge conflicts. And so that then goes to the rel maintainer, who I would expect then checks to see if the patch I submitted actually corresponds to upstream. So if that is happening, the only real value for the maintainer is to review the things that I did to resolve the merge conflicts. And I'm not sure that there's a lot of value in that. I don't see where it helps them. We don't want to be an AI slop is always valid here kind of environment, but I'm trying to figure out what the advantage is for the rel maintainer for us to come up with a strong guideline for how this should be done. And then as I continue to ruminate on this, it kind of feels like a single paragraph that goes in the contributors doc, where I don't think we need necessarily an entirely separate policy, but a brief bit of guidance on what it means from the perspective of someone who's handing this to rel engineering. Because that's one of 2 roles that someone outside Red Hat can have. You can either be submitting a patch or you can be reviewing the audit log. And if all the value is in the person who's doing the reviewing, I'm not sure what I'm sort of stuck in a value proposition. And that is my vaguely formed, hand-wavy, wild thoughts. I now yield.
I have a few agreements and questions for you, but we will go to Davida, Troy, and then I'll slip myself in.
So I think we have to distinguish between I think I agree with most of what Pat said, but I think most of what you talked about applies to the use case of people contributing to core CentOS Stream, like people sending MRs on GitLab, Red Hat, RPM CentOS Stream, and things like that. And I think for that, I agree. I think these a lot of the stuff is out of our hand because a lot of the stuff is within like REL engineering. And you could argue that if a policy is put in place, it should likely be put in place by REL engineering or with a REL engineering framing. Also, there are already tools that are submitting AI-generated MRs there. I couldn't quite tell if there are tools doing automated merge and review, but there are definitely tools doing like triaging at least, because I've seen stuff like that. I don't know if something is automatically merging. There's also a thing that is in Jira that I found out by asking through a back channel, because I could not actually tell this myself, but there's a thing called Jonther that you can assign Jira tickets to that will like use AI to try to resolve the ticket and like potentially fail spectacularly, like in the one I found. But there are things like that already exist that are like poorly documented, and maybe we should fix that. But I think that's out of scope of policy. So that's one side of the house. But the other side of the house is everything else that happens in CentOS, which is mostly in SIGs. And in SIGs, people have a lot more freedom of what they could do. Like you could conceivably see a SIG, for example, set up a GitLab like bot or something to do automated review and automatically merge patches for their changes within their SIG. Do we want that? Do we not want that? Like that is, I think, a thing that it would be valuable to have, like at least a thought about. In general, I think the Fedora policy is a good starting point. I think we do need a policy to at least politely request that people use the assisted by stuff. And like I think we can make that a must, but in practice we know that like we have no way to actually enforce this because people can just leave the tag out, and like sometimes you can tell this looks like slop, but sometimes you cannot, or like sometimes it's just a value judgment. So I think we should definitely have that. The other stuff, I think we may need to distinguish between whether things are like specifically to CentOS Stream, like as in like Jira and the stuff under GitLab Red as CentOS Stream, versus other parts of the project that are more freeform for the SIGs to do what they please in. I don't know whether we want to like be normative or not there. I do think we need something probably. I don't think we want to have a free for all. Like I don't know. So for example, like as a thought experiment, let's say we had a SIG that decided to use like LLMs to translate the docs in all of the languages in the world and publish those. And publish those like under like the CentOS Docs website. Would we be okay with that? Because I personally would feel very weird about that being presented as a project thing, because you have no way of knowing whether those docs would even make sense or say something harmful. But like maybe this would be okay if it were like clearly labeled as this is auto-generated. It could be wrong. Like I don't know, but I feel like this is something we should probably think about.
I want to answer you too, but I can't yet. Go ahead, Troy.
You're muted, Troy.
You're muted.
You missed some wonderful stuff I just said. David has said about 75% of what I wanted to say, that the stuff going to CentOS Stream, the merges to there, in my opinion, probably should follow the REL policy because it's doing that. But we have this whole other SIG stuff, you know, with my alternative images SIGs, you know, the Kiwi things. Maybe I use AI for stuff. What's the policy for that? So I think we do need to have an AI policy, although I do think also having the blurb in the how to contribute thing is also good. I just wanted to comment, the one thing I really liked about Fedoras is the mays, the musts, the shoulds, so that it's clear when you have to do it, when you have the option to do it. That is, to me, one of my favorite parts. The other thing is, should we have one of these? And I say yes, because I have an example of I was doing some stuff in Fedora and I was using AI And until that policy went through, I didn't know what I should do. Do I put this assisted by, or do I not put it on? And once it was done, it was clear I need to put it on there. So I think we should actually do it. I am in favor of getting this as close to Fedora as possible because I like theirs. And with that, I'll be quiet and let Amy answer all of her questions.
Okay. So I agree with like everyone. So let me say that. I especially agree with Pat, and this is kind of against you, Troy, because I'm worried about the word must. Because the purpose of this is to encourage them to declare it. If they are concerned that they will be in trouble for doing it, they may not. So we need to figure out the wording to encourage it, because we know what's going on. We just want to know about it. And if they're scared to do it, they're not going to put it in. And that's why I'm with Pat and I don't like the word must. We highly encourage you, but I also agree with everyone that we should get as close to Fedora as possible. And we need to still, once we have our policy in place, we need to talk to Josh Breuer, former CentOS board member, who is in charge of this for RHEL, at least last I heard, he was in charge of this. And it may be, if everyone's in agreement, we apply the AI policy to the SIGs because we control the SIGs. And it may be that what RHEL is doing is not where we want to go, and we may need to differentiate there. But we can do that by saying, this is the policy for the SIGs. RHEL has their own policy, which applies to Stream. No, I agree. In everything else, we try to get really close as like the code of conduct, because if you get banned in Fedora, you get banned in CentOS and vice versa. So that's some place where it's very important that wording be very good. So we want to be as close as possible. We don't want to scare anyone off. Davida, in answer of your translation concern, your example, I should say, we actually discussed that in Open Infra. And in that case, it would actually be a generated by. And it also should encourage someone to, someone at some point has to have their hands on it. We can say a language translation will not be accepted until we can find someone to look at that language. So that we aren't accidentally putting something up where, one of those cases where you get 2 words wrong and it becomes a swear. We don't want that. So we do want some human interaction, which is why I really like their accountability. I'm okay with their accountability being must. I just wonder if with transparency, it's highly encouraged versus the must word. But we can definitely discuss that. Mike?
Oh, I just want to say I think I'm in agreement with Davida here. I don't really have a problem with the must items. I think accountability goes without saying. I think you submit something, you're accountable regardless of whether it's AI generated or not. So that one's fine. The one about must not use as sole final arbiter of decision making, I think that one is good. I don't have a problem with that. And we seem to maybe be on the transparency one, but that here it only applies when you're basically taking like a huge AI blob and throwing it in. And I think if you're presenting like a huge amount of AI only work as your own, that seems questionable.
All right, Johnny, Davida, and then I've got an example.
I agree with Mike and Troy. I have no problem with the must in the use that they are using it there, where they say you must take responsibility. If you submit the code, no matter who wrote it, you're sponsoring it, you're responsible for it. So that's the first thing. I also don't have a problem with must for significant portion, right? It says you should do it for contributions that aren't significant, but for significant portions, you must do it. And I think that's critical, because I think we need to have that information. So I don't want to leave out must for I think the Fedora policy is almost perfect the way it is for the SIGs, for the things we're responsible for. And that's all I had to say.
Okay, Davida, me, then Pat.
Yeah,
And I
think
do agree with you, Johnny, reading through the whole thing.
I think that I agree. I really like you have to be accountable for what you submit. I think the failure mode here is that somebody submits a gigantic AI generated thing and then disappears, and then we're stuck with the mess. And like whether that happens in a SIG or whether that happens in like anywhere else, it reflects poorly on the project, and we don't want that to happen. I think as long as somebody does work, everybody froze. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Google Meet told me that everything was broken. Anyway, let's go on. As long as we avoid that, and as long as people are responsible for what they submit, and like we know who submitted what and they sign up to support it, then it's fine. And yeah, in the translation example, if somebody wants to see like a translation to a language with AI and then maintaining themselves, that's fine. If someone wants to translate to a language they don't speak and just throw it over the wall, that would not be fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the more we're talking through this, I'm okay with that second must. An example that we used in discussions in person a couple weeks ago, working through the issue, is think back in the early days before AI existed. Google existed. You weren't quite sure how to write something. You Googled it, you went to SourceForge. They had almost exactly what you wanted. You cut and pasted it in. And back then, you probably didn't say, hey, I got this bit out of SourceForge. So keep that as an idea of these little minor changes. Davida, with your large patch, they disappear. That could happen with anything, even if they wrote it. So we're going to get stuck with that anyways. But at least we have a name attached to it because of the accountability here.
I sorry if I can reply to just a second.
Yep.
I think the thing that is different here is like the force multiplication effect, where like one can easily generate thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code or text or whatever with very little effort. And it's not hard to do a thing that like looks that it might be okay and looks like that it might be fine, and then it's absolutely not. So I think that's where like the risk is. Like it's true that you can absolutely do a type by contribution as like without using AI, but then you're limited by like your own output capabilities. So I think that's kind of the difference there, and why this is more of an issue when relying on AI versus when just having human powered contributions.
Okay, Pat, then Troy.
So in parallel, I've also spent a lot of time ruminating on the various tags. And we have in our work in progress document reviewed by, assisted by, and generated by. And as I have been looking about the internets, it seems that the loose consensus is that reviewed by is a human, and that it is not supposed to be a tool. I haven't seen that formally stated everywhere, but as I've seen it in usage, that seems to be where things are landing, and that they want something else for tool assisted. Which leaves me with sort of assisted by and generated by. In the CentOS context, I do not like the generated by tag, because I feel like that gives you an out where, well, look, ChatGPT made it. What do you want from me? And I don't like those types of contributions. And so I feel as though, while our policy would say things like, look, you submitted it, you own it, that generated by provides some feeling that like, well, I mean, the LLM wrote it, so you're as capable of running this as I am. And while I am sensitive to co-opting nonsensical marketing speak, the LLMs do not hallucinate, they lie. Nonetheless, I am seeing broadly floating around in the industry the terms AI assistant. And so assisted by really feels like the right level of responsiveness, where when I have assistants who help me with things, I am their supervisor. I therefore own the, if this is junk, it's kind of my fault for failing to review it. And so that is the, like, I am glad that that is the tag that Fedora picked, but independently, that is how I landed at assisted by. And so for Davida's example, where you've got a SIG that just mass translates the docs and trucks them out there, I would say, while a generated by tag would fit the definitions that are used by Open Infra, I would still want to force an assisted by tag on there, the person who pressed the merge button. And that if you don't have a person who presses the merge button, then it goes to the SIG chair. And like, your tooling made this, you own this. And if you don't like owning this as the SIG chair, then you need to fix your tool. And so that's a long way of saying I like the assisted by tag.
Basically, anything that gets submitted is the responsibility of the submitter. Cut and dry. That's just the bottom line. If you submit it, you're responsible for it. And that's what we need to, that needs to be in our policy.
And I don't think anyone's arguing that point, Johnny, because that's actually one thing we really liked. I think everyone's agreed on out of the Fedora one, that accountability section. So if I'm getting this right, Pat, you are more aligned with just having assisted by and not having generated by.
I think a single tag reduces confusion. How much do I have to change before it goes from one tag to another? Whereas assisted by uses sort of traditional employment-y language and is loosely attached to the modern marketing speak that they're providing.
Okay, Davida, then Johnny.
I think I'm leaning towards the same thing that Pat is saying. Like, I think we don't want to actually encourage people to do like purely generated contributions. Like, so I think assisted by is probably the right call here. That said, I think if somebody is submitting an AI assisted contribution, I would probably expect some amount of explanation of like the level of assistance or if the assistance was significant. So for example, in systemd, I've seen a few like AI assisted PRs, and often people will like do the PR and then say, this is the prompt I used, or this is the thing that I was trying. I don't think we necessarily need to prescribe that, but I think having if your PR is like 95% AI and 5% human, I think that would be valuable to communicate, and maybe spending like a few words on like what the AI actually did or like how the AI actually did it. Also, ideally, the description would be written by a human in that case and not by the AI, because if you ask the AI to explain what it did, that seems not useful. But again, I don't think this is policy. I think this is more like
Common sense.
ground rules that we will need to figure out as a project as we move on in this brave new world.
Go ahead, Johnny.
And I don't have a problem with things like documentation, translations being done mostly by AI. But if we're going to allow a generated tag for non-code, for documentation and things, if we were to allow something like that, then we would also need a higher level of sign-off approval within the group, right? Somebody else would have to review that, and we need a review as part of that as well. So I wouldn't have a problem with a lower level of requirements and a review for simple things like documentation where you're not actually running code on a computer. So that was what I wanted to say about that particular thing.
All right, so it seems like the group is leaning towards basically using the Fedora one. Am I correct on that? Everyone give a thumbs up if that is the, okay, and Pat gave a heart. Jeffro gave party. Okay. And we lost Jack. All right. So one thing we will need to do next is we will make a version that says CentOS versus Fedora. Then Sean, do you think we need to see what RHEL feels, or do we want?
I'll run it by Josh or somebody.
Okay.
I
And
feel like
I'll-
that'd be safest.
Okay, and then let's bring it back to the group. And depending on the real feedback, it may be that we implement this for the SIGs specifically. And Pat's comment about putting something in the contributor, we can put a short paragraph in there that points to the bigger document. I think having it separated, the main reason is so that it's easy to search and find. Go ahead, Davida.
In addition of asking RHEL's feedback on this, I think it would be very valuable if RHEL could share their policy, or like not just share it with us, but I mean like actually documenting it somewhere.
It sounds like it's a work in progress from comments in the chat.
Yeah, if we can get that, I think that will help a lot. Both the actual policy and like ideally documenting like the various like bits and pieces and tools that they're using for it would be nice.
Sean?
Like,
Yes. Would it be useful to do like an AI policy like Freckle topic, and then Fedora can talk and we can get
So they scheduled it when I was at an Open Infra and Justin talked.
We had an AI one?
Yes, it was one
I
of the
missed
short
that.
ones. It was one of the
Oh.
short ones. So
Was Josh there?
I
'Cause
don't know.
We need the root and Freckle for that one. All right.
Troy?
So I was at that meeting. It was mainly Fedora's. I gave like a minute or two blurb for CentOS, and RHEL didn't really say anything. So it was mainly Fedora's AI one. So having it on the Freckle again would be good once RHEL's is closer to being done.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was really hoping to be there, which is why I asked who from the group could be there. So Troy and Mike represented, but if it was just basically Justin talking, it wasn't a real conversation. Davide, you had your hand up.
I think I agree. I think it would be useful to have a Freckle thing that is RHEL focused on this. But I think what I would be more interested in a Freckle specific conversation is like hearing about the policy, but also hearing about the implementation and like what is RHEL specifically doing with this? What is RHEL specifically getting out of these? Are there things that RHEL is doing that other projects should adopt, or that would be valuable to talk more? Because like, again, a lot of this, to me as an external, like outside of Red Hat person, I can definitely tell the stuff is happening, but a lot of it feels like it's unclear. A lot of things is unclear whether it's like somebody's like playing around versus an actual thing, versus like, oh, this is like a tool that everybody in the company is using now that has been heavily promoted. So like with the head of prospective contributor to CentOS Stream, like core CentOS Stream, it'd be very useful to know like what are the surfaces I'm gonna interact with that are like AI flavored that I should know about. And that can maybe inform things that CentOS can do, that Fedora can do, and so on.
Okay. So I will take that back to Brendan and say we would like a larger one with a rel focus. Pat?
Okay, I have tried to organize and summarize the conversation in the notes. Someone check it. Because, yes, this is my, I think, fourth rearrangement of it, but I think it's grouped coherently now.
Okay, I will not be able to see you all. I'm going to look at it.
Pat, I appreciate your work because this, I don't think, has been an easy conversation to.
No. And normally I would be typing as well, but I have to either pay attention to who's raising hands or read the doc. Where do I get them? I think it's all there. Does anyone else think something's missing? And we'll also have the recording, so. All right, going once, going twice, and coming back to the other window. All right. That was the only topic we had on the agenda for us. We've actually taken 45 minutes for it. Yes. So it's a good thing it was the only thing on our agenda, really. So Sean, it's all you.
Wow. Okay. I added stuff to the agenda as we were talking because I thought of stuff. I want to bring up the automotive docs. I'm not sure if we've talked about it in board meetings. It's more of a docs thing, but so the automotive docs right now has their docs published on a separate place. It's sigs.centos.org/automotive because they need to publish multiple versions of their docs. There is an extension for material for MK docs that allows this, but it does not play well with the way we do get submodules to organize our docs. Basically, it would version the whole dang site because it doesn't distinguish between multiple documents. And so for the time being, the short term is that they have their docs published elsewhere, and there's a merge request to basically remove the docs from docs.centos.org and just insert a link. I know there's issues with that. It breaks the global search. It's kind of a regression on some other stuff, but as it is right now, like their docs are published elsewhere, and I don't think it does us much good to keep them also there. We are investigating other solutions. The whole material for MK docs things is basically unmaintained at this point, so we need to find something else. Some of you may recall I played around with Gitbook, which is a hosted solution. It was kind of nice. It had a lot of features that we needed, actually filled some of the requirements, but we're looking more at self-hosted open source things. So the two that are I hope to find time to play with and be able to, I don't know, bring something to CentOS Connect for a more long-term solution that meets everyone's requirements. As I'm looking at Docusaurus, which is also a markdown-based system, and I forget the name, but somebody just like within the last week pointed out that there's effectively a successor to the material for MK docs. I posted it in the docs channel. I forget what the name was. It was something with a Z, I think. Anyway, whatever. We're investigating some other systems. So we'll see how that goes. Just letting you know. Besides that, event stuff, I'm gonna pull up, I'll say first Red Hat Summit. It's in May. Neil pointed out when we were chatting before we started the recording that the CFP for that closes, I don't know, now in 12 minutes, I think. So anyway, but we're having a community day before Red Hat Summit again. It'll be the Monday before the main track starts. It'll be kind of an afternoon thing to avoid people having to fly on the Sunday, which is Mother's Day. I'll have to fly on the Sunday because I have to come in and organize. But the idea is people can fly in the morning and catch all the programming. We do not have, it is going to happen, and I have some sense of what it's going to be like, but we don't have it structured yet to the point that we're promoting a CFP around doing Community Day and getting talks in that are strategic to what we want. And with the main summit CFP closing now, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I'm going to figure it out. So because I do want to get content in for Community Day, we are able to have invited content after the CFP closes, but like I also kind of want people to be able to submit and say, you know, I want to talk about this thing that maybe I didn't think of, you know. So yeah, Amy, go ahead.
I actually had this idea as we were talking before recording, so I wanted to bring it up now. Because you want to still have a CFP. What is stopping us from doing a pre-talk CFP and you selecting from there as your curated?
Yeah, we might do that. That might be where we go. I just have to, I'm gonna have to wait and I have some meetings lined up with some people about the structure of everything. So, but like we've got, I think it's 4 rooms and 4 time slots. So we actually have quite a lot to fill. So yes, I'm going to investigate that as a possibility. So, but if you do have something and you want to submit it through the Summit CFP and even something, you know, that's targeted at Community Day, go ahead and do that because I will be looking at the submissions that come through Summit as well. Onwards, unless there's any questions about Summit. CentOS Connect, I'm sure I mentioned, but I'll mention it in every meeting until it's happened, is January 29th and 30th, I think, Thursday and Friday before FOSDEM in Brussels, back at the DoubleTree. We're in the main ballroom on the ground floor, which is super exciting. And we've got like, we'll split it in half, and like one side of it will be like a lunchroom and a, like you can sit there and have meetings and Hackfest or whatever else. There'll be banquet tables and stuff out. So really great hallway track space. I'm very excited about that. The CFP for CentOS Connect is open, so please submit your talks. And also we will have, we'll do the Thursday morning meetups again. That also goes through the CFP system, so submit that. We have fewer rooms for the meetups this year, so we'll be a little bit more selective about it. But also, as I said, because we have the tables in the hallway track space, like people can have like small group impromptu kind of meetups can just happen, right? If you don't need like the meeting room to have a 20-person meeting on something, if you've just got 6 people that want to hack on whatever, then, you know, grab a table. Anyway, so CFP is open, please submit. And registration is open. Registration is free, but please register. It helps like a ton in the organization for it. So if you're coming, do that. And I put in the notes, do you want to sponsor? I don't expect any of you personally to sponsor, but some of you work for companies that might sponsor. So, you know, we have a prospectus, and I've sent that out to some of you already. So anyway, you know, sponsoring's good. It helps us put on a bigger event. And then right after CentOS Connect will be FOSDEM, and we will have the Distros Devroom again. That'll be a full day of content. I'm not sure which day it's scheduled for yet, but anyway, that's a team of like 5 distros that come together to put that on. I'm one of the organizers. I'm not like the only person in it, but if you have content, you know, a talk that you think is like generally interesting, I mean, it can be a talk about CentOS, that's cool, but like generally interesting to everyone, please submit it to that CFP, and we'll get some good stuff in there and plan to attend it. And then Flock has been announced. That's June 14th to the 16th in Prague. It's back at the same location as last year. And the CFP for that is open. I think registration is not open yet, but CFP is open. Davida.
We are also planning a meetup at the Meta office in Brussels the Monday after FOSDEM. Organization on that is still TBD, but at some point I will send out a Google form or something so people can sign up for that. It will be same arrangement as the last one we did. So we have to get into the office, so people have to sign NDA and stuff, and we'll share their room with the systemd folks that will be attending their own meetup in the same room to make things easier for everyone. And then, like, based on how this went last time, I suspect this will be like a morning plus like lunch early afternoon thing. And then, like, if you want to plan travel out in the evening or late afternoon, I think that would be fine. I think stuff will probably taper out by like 2 or 3 p.m. But like I'm gonna get the room reserved to like 5 or 6, so people can stick around later if they want to, and I'm sure someone will be there. Also, speaking of things that are happening, the CFP for Scale is open. So if any of you would like to submit to Scale, the CFP is open. I will point out that I'm helping with the kernel and low-level systems Devroom, which has not a ton of submissions right now. So if you would like to submit there, that would be appreciated. But in general, submission to Scales are good. Scale is a good event. We will have a booth, I believe, or at least we have asked for a booth. So we CentOS, I mean. So I will also have a booth with Meta, I assume, like in the past years.
Sorry.
Nope, that's all I had.
Okay, our booth for CentOS is, I don't know the answer on that yet, on whether we'll do it. We'll be present. Last year, we just kind of crashed the Fedora booth and put a CentOS banner up there and did a CentOS and Fedora. I like doing a separate CentOS booth, but the staffing is a lot easier when we just join forces. So that's kind of TBD based on who attends, basically. But we'll be present at a booth, whether it's shared or not.
Sean, have you heard anything back about the hatch?
I have, let me look at my email right now to make sure I'm not lying. No, I mean, I've heard, it's not like I've been ghosted. I've heard back, but I don't have a decision. We basically have asked to run a sort of a Fedora track with CentOS content would be welcome as well.
I think, I don't know if someone reached out to you already, but my understanding was that people needed further information to decide what to do with what you had asked, and they were going to reach out. So if that didn't happen, you should.
That did, and I provided further information.
Okay,
then,
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, just
so,
checking.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let me switch
Just
back to
real
the
quick,
middle.
Sean. I know you said Flock, the call for papers was open, but if you look on the Flock webpage, it says that doesn't open until December 8th. So.
Red Flock. Oh, but there's a link to submit. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'll fix that. Because Justin's at KubeCon this week, and I don't think he has the capacity to fix that.
Probably not. I saw him the other day, but I haven't seen him since because KubeCon's huge.
Yeah.
All right, we are at 3 minutes. And Sean, it looks like you are at the end of what you had. Does anyone have any quick other business or anything else? All right, then I will give everyone back probably 2.5 minutes of their time. And let me stop the recording.